Hi, my name is Tony Lambert. I'm a senior malware analyst at Red Canary, and I'm here to talk about macOS malware from the 2025 Threat Detection Report. macOS malware is going to be any sort of threat that affects macOS systems. They're a little bit different from Windows, but really macOS systems have started encountering more and more malware as they've been used more and more in different enterprise environments, and because a lot of different sensitive roles such as systems engineers, systems administrators have used macOS systems, and developers, things like those. So the more secrets that are stored on macOS, the more things that people will want to try to steal. The number one takeaway for macOS related threats this year is that we really need to treat macOS systems like we treat Windows systems or any other in an enterprise. There was a time, long ago when people would say Macs don't get malware. This is absolutely a myth. This is absolutely false. Macs do get malware. In fact, we've seen it nearly on a weekly basis in 2024. This is something where we have to get more mature as a community, more mature in organizations, and treat macOS systems the way we would treat any other and try to secure them as such. What we saw in previous years with macOS is that the most prevalent threats for Mac were nearly always ad fraud or advertising related, like sometimes they were adware or they were trying to get some sort of fraudulent ad activity. That has really changed in the last year. In the last year, we saw a great uptick in the stealer malware families that were targeting macOS systems. During the year, we observed ATT&CK, Poseidon stealer, and Banshee, all targeting macOS systems. These were seen on nearly a weekly basis in some parts of the year. You can tell in the threat detection report, there are different times of the year where the threats kind of ebbed and flowed a little bit. There were portions of the year that I would go and I would take a look at what we detected, and I could nearly always pick out an ATT&CK stealer or a Poseidon detection. One of the things that really surprised me about macOS malware this year was really how much social engineering and how much coaching goes into trying to lure users into executing malware. For a decent portion of the year, when ATT&CK or Poseidon stealer were distributed, they were often distributed in DMG file form. So when someone would double click on those DMG files, they would be mounted on macOS, and they would have some sort of background on that DMG saying, right click on this thing and open it. And what users didn't realize is that they were being coached into bypassing Gatekeeper, which is a critical control of macOS systems that prevent malware from running. So really, users didn't understand that they were being coached through executing the malware. And this was really, really successful. In fact, this was so successful that Apple had to change how Gatekeeper and macOS worked and had to prevent those bypasses by being able to simply right click and hit open. And by doing so, Apple really broke a lot of stealer malware that was on the market for macOS. The first big actionable insight is to really treat your macOS systems like you would treat any other in an organization. On your Windows systems, you probably have an endpoint protection product, you probably have an EDR product, you probably have a couple of different things that are designed to help protect those Windows systems. We want you to do the same thing on Mac. The second actionable insight is around educating users. Something that we've ended up finding over the years with macOS systems is that people are used to clicking through error messages a lot. We saw this during the year with ATT&CK stealer and Poseidon and the others, because every time those stealers would execute, they would pop up something called a transparency, consent, and control screen, a TCC dialog, asking for permission to access a documents folder. Every time that happened, if it was successful, a user would hit accept or would hit OK and allow the malware to do so. This is something that users have the ability to stop in its tracks. If they decide that they hit no, I don't want to give permission for this to happen, they can immediately break that malware. For our third insight, really want to talk about providing safe software for your people that are using macOS systems. When we saw Atomic, Poseidon, Banshee stealers being used during the year, they were almost always coming from malicious software downloads. We want to be able to prevent malware by giving users a safe place for them to obtain their software. If you have an approved software list, include links that are approved where your people can go and download those. So instead of Googling for Slack and accidentally finding an advertisement that's malicious for Slack, maybe you have a link in an Excel spreadsheet somewhere.